Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of the MCR. Mac and me, my name is TJ. And in this segment, I'm pleased to report that both Mac and I have taken advantage of the early voting process here in Michigan. Early voting in Michigan started October 26th. And I don't know about Mac, but initially I had some reservations, but I will tell you after my experience, uh, I'm glad I voted early, and those reservations were for, as what do you say, as for naught, you know.
Yeah, well, my reservation, I had them too. What's going to happen to my ballot? But that's no different than on election day. What's going to happen to my ballot? Once I put it through the machine, I never see it again. It's not the early voting I was concerned about anyway. It's the late voting that's going to go on in Michigan that I'm worried about.
Yes, exactly. The reason why I had reservations was as I had heard about it and I had done some research because I thought I wrongly thought that I would go to where we always go to vote, a local neighborhood, uh, what do you call it? Like those rec centers, those, you
Right,
know,
not just
like a
municipal
community
building.
thing, community
Right,
center of sorts. Okay,
right.
and well, no, you don't go there for early voting. In fact, when I went to the Michigan website, it directed me to another website which said put in your address. So I put in my address only to find out that I had to go to and I'm going to call it my city town hall. Okay. The
Okay.
atrium. They refer to it as the atrium of the town hall of the city in which I reside. And, and I thought, all right, I'm in precinct 17. How's this going to work? Well, I found out yesterday how it worked, and it actually worked pretty well. Uh, my wife and I, we went. Oh, and the voting times. And Mac, I don't know about your where you went, but say the location for me, 10 days prior, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And then on election day, it'd be at its normal location during, I guess end of voting would be like what 7 p.m. or something, you
Yeah,
know.
early voting ends. There's no early voting in Michigan on the day before, the Monday prior to, or November 4th. You can't vote
Okay.
early anymore, so it has to be done prior to that. So it's like here, it's between October 26th and November 3rd is the days you can vote. In our hours were like 10 to 6.
Yeah, ours were 8:30 a to 4:30 p. Uh, in talking to my wife, I asked her if she felt like doing it, and she was in full favor of doing it. Uh, the problem is, and this is where early voting does have its advantage, is on voting day, I work on the other side of Detroit, so I've got I'm like a road warrior every day, just getting home from work. So to make that commute in hopes of running into no issues and then having to vote, there's always that element of risk, you know? And so, and that was the main reason why I said, yeah, I'm going to give this a try. Uh, and Mac, I don't know, I'm sure you'll share your observations here in a minute, but when we were there, we went in the afternoon at about 2:30. Okay, so we went at about 2:30. There was, I would tell you, no line, but it was very busy, almost as if we got there at the tail end of the line, as it was beginning to die down. So
Okay.
so we might have waited one person to check in, and what you did was you checked in. They did have us show our ID, which was nice, and then they established what precinct we were, and then it was almost like we had two check-in points. One to check in, I think they were checking to make sure we were on the voting roll, maybe. And they gave us like a little, I'm going to call it a 3x5 card. It wasn't really 3x5, but they gave us like a card uh, with our name, address, and precinct number on it. And so then we'd go and check in at a second desk, at which point they gave us the ballot. And here's where it got a little tricky. Was because all the precincts for my area were there. So after you were through voting, you had to make sure you put it into the right. I'm going to call it a kiosk, for lack of a better term. You had to make
Okay.
sure you put it into the right kiosk, and I'm thinking, gee, how many people got this right? You know, I
Well,
mean,
there's always going to be error, of course, but
yeah, yeah. So that I would tell you that would be one of the concerns. But uh, in doing all this, my wife and I, we overheard a conversation. The poll workers talking to each other, saying that in the morning time, because they opened up at 8:30, they said in the morning time the line got so long that it went out of the building, out the door, down the sidewalk to like the street in front of the city town hall. So
right.
it almost sounded like half hour to an hour wait in the morning
I
time.
had the place I went to. It was at the a township over from where I live to the east, and everything went extremely smoothly. I'm guessing when I got there at about 10:30, there was about 40 people ahead of me in line. Had no idea how long it was going to take. I figured a couple of minutes maybe for each person, so I knew I was going to be there an hour and a half or so. And from the time I got in the line to the time they put the ballot in my hand, 17 and a half minutes.
Yeah, see, and I guess we just went at a really good time because we were like we had to wait like one person, which is nice.
Well,
But
I didn't think 17 minutes was bad at all.
well, but here's the thing: we had one person, but there was a lot of people there, and they pretty much I'm gonna give kudos to the poll workers. They had their act together too. So
Yeah, these and it was all women, of course, as it always is. I wonder sometimes if that isn't why we have the shenanigans we do. But they uh, they ran this like a well-oiled machine, I would tell you.
yeah, it went pretty smooth, pretty smoothly. Now, given the time in which this segment's being recorded, uh, there really hasn't been any news reports as to early voting activity in Michigan, and I'll say when compared to other states. And what I mean by that is, in some of the other states where they're having early voting, while they don't know how people voted, they do know Republican, Democrat, Independent, and the word is Republican voting is outnumbering the Democrat voting on a 2-to-1 margin. And then throw into that the independents, you know.
Well, maybe it's all these people who get on TV and make commercials. I'm a lifelong Republican. I'm a conservative, but I'm going to vote for Kamala.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? You're delusional and probably getting paid to tell that lie. You were never a conservative. You might be a Republican, but you're not worth a damn as one, and you're a rhino basically. And because the differences are so stark, how do you go from one to the other? I mean, come
Yeah,
on,
really.
please.
So we'll see if any news reports come out this week. If so, we'll throw it into a upcoming segment here in the week. Uh, get out, vote early, and we got to defeat the Democrats. That's all I can say. I mean, it's a
Right.
must.
I
So
would
that's
I would jokingly like to say vote early, vote often, but that's what they do.
yeah. So all right, we're going to call this one a wrap. Thanks everyone for your support, and we'll see you in the next segment. As always, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.